Let me get started with the syllabus and point out a few things. I'll come back to homework 1 and the handouts. Okay. You probably know that there's something called the Y drive, which we computer science teachers use. So we have to go to My Computer, Y drive, Computer, Y drive, and Spring 2015. Then this is the class we are in, 127. Now, out of these, I'm going to use PowerPoint, course information, code samples, and assignments. So please don't submit any homework in the Dropbox. I want it printed out, similar to what one of the handouts is like. Let's see, there's nothing under software because the software is under course information. You can run VisualLogic either from here or it should be available on your desktop, okay? Like it is over here. And we'll come back to Python. So out of these, let's get started with the syllabus. I will come back to the book. My name is Krishna Agarwal. I'm in PC 249, close to the elevator. And you have my office phone number and home phone number. Size of it. I don't know what that is. That's another problem. We have 2 versions of Word, so let me start the one I'm more accustomed with. So that takes a long time. Let me just simply go back. Okay, luckily it's there. Okay, so I was telling you about my phone number and email address. Office hours. That's because all my classes meet in this room at these times. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 and 12. Tuesday, Thursday, 11 to 12:15 is this class. The final exam for this class is scheduled for 10:30, please note, on Tuesday, May 6th. Okay. By the way, if you have any questions, ask please. Some of you have already asked about the textbook. This is the textbook. I have a few copies in my office, but it's all online. See, book March 30th, this one. You can just copy it on a flash drive, etc. Take it home and just read. That's exactly the same as this. I have a few extra copies. If you need a printed copy, let me know. I'm selling it for $20, which is just about the cost, which is 15, I believe. Anyway. See things I'm editing that copy of. So the textbook is free basically. There are many references online. These are 2 books. They're much harder. Cannot depend on them actually for this class. They're harder to understand. But if you need to, you can try them out. They're all free online. We'll be using Windows, Python, and I forgot to mention VisualLogic over here. I can speak the course objective, but please note that there's a prerequisite. 115 is the prerequisite. If you're already in it, or if you know how to use computers, you're okay to be in this class. I'm not going to start telling you how to use Word, Excel, etc. That's part of 115. And the Goadrich visit, Math 121, if you have done something equivalent, that's good. Otherwise, you should be taking that at the same time, and I cannot cover algebra in this class, right? So we assume a little bit of algebra, not a whole lot. So these are chapters out of the book. Now, I'm going to cover roughly one per week, okay? So you can keep up with the reading. I may jump around a little bit in the beginning. For example, I might combine ideas from 3 chapters or even 4. So you have at least 6 assignments, possibly more. There are 3 exams, 1 and 2 are 20% each for the class. The assignments are a total of 30% and the final is 30%. The exams are all written essay time, not multiple choice. Okay? And if you get 900 points or 90%, that's an A, etc. Now, I want you to save all your graded homework, which I return to you. If I don't return it to you, I may want to keep it. I'll let you know if I want to keep it. I'm supposed to keep at least 5 copies of everything I did in the class. And also say what you've done on a flash drive, or we'll talk a little bit about the Z drive. Okay? Try not to be late, because I do take off some credit every day you're late. So if I make a mistake in recording your grade, at least you'll have some proof that I have seen it before. Okay? Now if you do need to use the campus-wide lab, these used to be the hours last semester. They could have changed. But most likely you can use TC 219 during working hours, that is about 8 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. Or you can use all this software at home, it's all free. Okay. I'll come back to that in a minute. So incompletes are given only with the dean's permission. I cannot authorize incompletes. Try and take all the exams and everything. Okay, it's very important to put in a lot of effort into this course. I put in roughly 70% is your effort and the rest is mine. Because programming can be learned only by doing. Okay? I'm sure some of you know programming already. So read the book as often as you can to clarify things, and then apart from the homework, you can of course do problems from the end of the chapters, right? You don't have to turn them in at all. Please ask a lot of questions. And I lecture mostly on Tuesdays, Thursdays. You do the homework and come to class and ask questions and interact a little with others. But do the homework on your own, okay? You can get a hint on one error on a statement or something like that from your neighbor, but try and do the rest of it yourself. Then khanacademy.org has information about programming. It also has a lot of other topics, science, math, etc. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, I have mentioned some of the important dates, holidays, etc. But most of them are on the other handout, which is two-sided, with the final exam schedule on the other side. So if I made a mistake anywhere, let me know if any of you detects an error. Any questions on the syllabus? Okay, let's get started with some simple examples. And like I said, I'm going to jump around a little bit. today. I'll mention a few other things. This is very important, the VisualLogic user's guide. I'm not printing a copy for everybody. It's about 20-25 pages long. Copy that and please read carefully if you have any trouble with VisualLogic. Okay. You can go through these PowerPoint slides, somewhat useful. So I covered most of these. Code samples is very useful. All of these are sample programs in Python, which you can run, bring up Python and run and see what it does. You can modify it, etc. Just don't save it on the Y drive if you can. Don't know if I'll let you. I'll periodically run some of these. Assignments. So today's assignment is here. The clarifications are here and this assignment. I've given you that page from which the assignment is completed. So we'll come back to the assignment. Let me cover handout 1. That's the most useful to get started. Now, I may or may not cover all the material on the remaining handouts, but we are responsible for it, okay? Please read all the remaining stuff. And if you have questions, you can ask me mostly on Thursday. What I'm going to do is something very simple. On page 1, I need to tell you which websites to go to for VisualLogic and for Python. Either it's org or com, I'm not sure I can do that. Okay. You can download the latest version by clicking on this. Okay. Not going to do it because it's already there. Or you can copy it off the Y drive. This website is very useful, python.org. It has a lot of tutorials about Python, a lot of sample programs, etc. Okay. Now you don't have to have the very latest version, but don't depend on anything which is before 3.0.0. Okay. So if you go to this, click on that, you should be able to download the Windows version, which I'm trying to get to. The Windows version, it's not the 64-bit installer, it should be 32-bit somewhere. This one, okay, this should be the one. Because it doesn't say 64-bit, unless you have a 64-bit machine. Okay. Some of you might have a 64-bit CPU. So again, if you have any trouble, we'll worry about it later. Any questions or anything? Okay. Now, we got one version installed. You go to all programs. Now, unfortunately, I have the older one too. There are differences. The print statements are very different. So, definitely use 3 or above, not the 2.7. Okay. I don't know why I have that around. So, we'll come back to that. Let's get started with VisualLogic first and show you how to do something simple. Now, I do not have this signature file. It may be available on the internet. That allows you to save the flowchart. Otherwise, you can't save it. So, it's in demo mode, and that's good enough for most of the work in this class. I would say all of the work. If you don't turn off your computer, you still have this around. But if you leave the classroom, you won't have it on your desktop, right? you have to log off. So, going to follow exactly what this handout says. We are going to write a short program to enter the value of miles. Say somebody is traveling 10 miles. We have to give the name of the variable here. So what I did was right click and change this. So now I'm going to right click and put an assignment statement. Right click, edit. So I'm going to convert miles to kilometers, right? So KMS is the variable name, 10 kilometers spelled out, whatever. And 1.6 times miles. That's the formula, right? To convert from miles to kilometers. Okay. And again right click and we need output. So almost all programs need some input, at the end some output, and in the middle calculation. That's why they're called IPO. In the old days this was input, processing, output. There used to be charts based on that, so we don't use those anymore, but you could. So once again, output expression, we got to put in an expression. Expression includes variables. So I'm going to put two things in here. You're not supposed to use a comma, but an ampersand. I believe that's correct. Now that's where the VisualLogic guide comes in. Okay. That gives you examples of what's correct and what's not. So I'm going to assume this correct. I could have a mistake. We all make mistakes because of knowing too many different programming languages, not having enough experience and so on. Okay, so I clicked on begin and then this is the run command. Please type in a value for this variable miles. It's here. This is the first run I'm trying to make. So let's say I've traveled 30 miles. Output should be 48, right? So kilometers equals 48. So it's printed this out as is because it's in double quotes, and it's printed out the value of KMS. Okay. Now there's a minor modification I can make to this and test it out a second time. The modification is right click, edit, more, console output. Okay, you see the difference in a minute. So this brings up a little box here, and same thing for this. Right click, edit, more, console output, not dialog box. Okay, so that brings up this little box here. Now if I run it a second time, it brings up this box for intervention, all input output, just one box, so it's simpler. And I can type in say 100. I can even type in 100.5 or 6 or something, and hit enter. So it will tell you what the corresponding value is for kilometers. Any questions on this demo? Okay. So that is part of programming, and what you're supposed to do is give me something like this handout. So what you can do is, I'm not going to go through all the steps. I get confused and I mess it up also. There's a snip tool, right? So then, pardon? Accessory? Okay, thank you. There it is. So you are supposed to drag it like this, and it brings it up in Paint. Or is it? No, it's not in Paint. You can paste it in Paint, bring up Paint, etc. So I'm not good at it, so I will probably mess it up. Control Yeah, that brings up part of it. But then I also want the input output, right? So add to this by taking this box as well and pasting it. So you get something very similar to what I have here, but I had to cut it and paste it 3 different times and bring up another copy of paint, etc. Manipulate a few things to get this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. It can be this box, console mode, plus the flowchart. And you need only one copy of the flowchart, but many runs maybe. See this run 2, right? The first run also should be included. So you can exit anytime. This demo mode means I do not have the save command. If I try saving, it won't save. Okay. That's the only difference. You can always snip it or cut it and paste it into something and look at it later and pick up from that point, but you'll have to type it in again. Now, if you want the regular version, it costs $35 or so, and you can order it from Python or Agarwal. But I don't think it's necessary. I don't have a copy, it saves. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing in Python. Python is quite easy and similar. And the interactive environment is called IDLE. Comes up like this. This tells you the version. Make sure it's at least 3.0. Okay. You have to go to the new file, new window, and type in your program there. So on page 2, the other side is your program. Anything which has a pound sign is a comment line. So you should type in something like this and it shows up in red. Also your name, etc. and date you finished it. Etc. Write a few more comments than what I have done. Now, this is very important. You can convert, okay, what you read in is a string all the time to a floating point number, which I'll explain in a minute. Input. What's this saying? Oh, I have an extra right here. So, this saying, I forgot the penalty after this. That's what I do here. It does the inside first, so it's going to print out miles, colon, ask you for input, and that will be a string. You can type in anything you like for a string. For example, this is a string, okay? But we are interested in a number only. So you have to convert that into a real number or a floating point number, okay? There is another one that is called integer, whole number. But since we are going to allow for 5.6, for example, then it should be float over here. Otherwise you get an error. We'll try that out in a minute. So then comes the formula for kilometers. Now I want this to be as far as possible as exactly the same as the flowchart. So I should use kms and not kilometers. And then the output statement is print something in parentheses. Okay? So version 2.7 etc. does not require the parents, but later on they decide to use parents. So you must use parents. Then before you can run this program, if I try and run it now, it will ask me to save it. Run module. It says where do you want to save it. So I have to tell it where to save it, and I will say something like homework1.py. If you leave out the string py, I think it now adds its own, so that's not entirely necessary. And then always use your disk space on the Z drive. Okay. So now it's running the program. It's saying, give me the value for miles. Let's say 10.5 for example. And it prints it out. So this was run 1, right? Now I want your program to be the results to be very similar to what I have on this. So you can cut and paste this. I'm not going to demonstrate all of it. We run second time. I don't know if you can run it from here. Well, that window is still open, okay? So you can just run it from here. Now, can you cut and paste this into Word, etc. quite easily, and put run 1, run 2, or sample input output like I've shown you here. So I always want at least 2 runs for every program you write. And I'll usually give the data in the beginning at least. So do you have any questions on any of this? The Python or the VisualLogic? Okay. Let's see, we can go to the assignment now. And I'll repeat a little bit of this. I know there's a lot in the first class, so I'll repeat a little of this on Thursday. But let me discuss the assignment, and it's not due for a while. Please don't get nervous or upset about it. It's not due for a while. But the sooner you get started, the better, because then you can finish it early. You can always hang in assignments early. Okay? I'll close this. Let me go back to the Z drive. Computer, this is the one with Python. So if I double click on it, the right way to open it is right click and edit file. So it comes up like we saw it earlier. Oh, I was going to show you a few errors on purpose if I make those errors. If I forget to convert it to float, for example, it's a string. So you cannot do arithmetic on a string. So actually brought up in another version of Python, C2.7, and therefore it did something which did not require the float. So the correct way to do this would be show you that you get an error in Python 3. Let's go back to all programs in Python. And then see this 3.3, right? So load that or open that program on the Z drive. Now I made the change already, so HW1 and 2. See, it does not have the float in front of it. There's another bug in Python I should tell you. If I look at something here, it pastes it in front of this input, which is not correct, right? It should not do that. But I have to delete this and hit enter, and I get this error message. That in this statement, the second statement, which is useful in my program, cannot multiply a sequence by non-integer type code. Anyway, that's simply saying that you must convert that number, the string to a number. Okay? Any questions on that? You get plenty of these error messages, so that's why I'm warning you about it. Okay, at least in the beginning. I have done it slightly differently. You can put float here. Makes no difference. Saying is read miles in as a string and then convert it to a number and then do the multiplication. Same thing, right? I do it in one of these two places. What was the other way? I cannot focus on errors because there could be many of them. So, any questions on that? I can run it one more time just to make sure that it does run now. See, this is the error, the bug in Python. About to go back. So no more errors, right? Okay. Coming to this little handout. Homework 1, please note it's due at the end of this month, 29. And we're going to do problems 1 and 3 at the end of chapter 1. Okay, so problem 1 is to calculate the volume, the cost of filling a pool with water. So clarification for homework 1 shows you that the cost of water is 1.27 per cubic foot. You have to read the problem. Basically, it's telling you the length, width, and height of the pool. You can calculate the volume, right? And then the cost of filling the pool is how much water you need to fill it, plus the cost per cubic foot, multiplied by anyway. So we have to not change the program between two runs, okay? In VisualLogic also you got to do the same problem in VisualLogic and Python. Okay. I'll mention that in a minute. Okay, so the cost of 1 cubic foot of water is 1.2 cents. Please note the output is in cents, right? And the length, width, and height is 20, 30, 10 meters. Okay. Second run uses 2.5 cents, and the size of the pool is different. So it should the same program should work for both. Any questions on that? Okay. Raptor, yeah, I said I would mention Raptor. There's something called Raptor, which is a flowcharting program as well, which is totally free but a little bit harder to use. And I don't know if you uploaded it on this. Let me see. I would encourage you to use VisualLogic. Don't worry about Raptors. I thought I had some information on that. Let me try one thing, and that's on the Z drive. I just saw that. That's what I want to do. Work one. Here, this is assembly for the Raptors file. By time double click on it, it might follow. Yeah, there it is. So this was saved and I had to reload it. So it's similar. Start, end. These are the boxes we can use. Raptor must be on it. I just don't see it anywhere. If it's not on your machine, don't worry about it. But if you do need it, let me know. I'll ask Adam to put it on. So this says enter miles and get miles. This is the same as the input statement in VisualLogic. Oh, this is a different problem. Miles per gallon, cost per gallon. You're supposed to calculate the cost of the trip. So miles times miles per gallon times cost per gallon. Total cost of the trip. That's on one of those pages as well. Any questions so far? Okay, second part of that. So what I encourage you to do is the pool problem first, and then the other problem, which is harder, quite a bit harder. Let me just mention what needs to be done. Let's discuss the input for that first. Again, I use Moodle for the homework, but on the Y drive you can usually find everything you need. Moodle doesn't allow you to format certain things. Okay. That was the data for problem 1. Problem 3. Somebody begins work at 8 hours, 12 minutes. You can see the other side of this page. This is the problem. Jimmy works at the local airport place, etc. So 8:12 is in the morning, 8 o'clock, 12 minutes after 8. That's when work begins. And work ends at this time. 16:38 means 4 in the afternoon, 38 minutes after that. Now they take a break at noon, 2 minutes after noon, and they finish the break, lunch break, 24 minutes after 12. Okay. So you can assume all the data is on separate lines. You don't have to combine it all on one line or anything. You could combine this into 8:12, but that's much harder to program. Little bit harder than 5. Not much harder, just a little bit harder. So I didn't want to make it too complicated. This data says begin work at 9:20 in the morning, finish at 3:10 in the afternoon, and so on. This is a breakdown. For the first run, that should be the output. You got to print this string in front. So once again, you got to write the Python, and VisualLogic is always easier. Do the VisualLogic first, and then the Python. Any questions on that? So basically, what you got to do is, there was a hint somewhere. Yeah, convert all time values from hours and minutes to minutes only. So 8 hours, 12 minutes would be 8 times 60 plus 12. 480 plus 12, 492 minutes from midnight. Okay? So convert everything to minutes, and then you got to convert things back to hours and minutes, okay, after doing all the calculations. I won't worry about the calculation right now. You can figure it out on paper first. Okay, there's one little point I need to worry about, and that is how do you convert backs both in Python and VisualLogic? Let me show you that. Again, I don't see it around here. Oh, that's because it's here somewhere. I'll just do a print command, very simple, keep everything very simple. You can always test things out ahead of time, right, before using it. So I encourage you to do that. For example, if I have 492 backslash 60, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So that gives you the remainder, wait a minute, that's the integer division symbol, okay? Not the remainder. So if I run this, that gives you 8. That was 8 hours, right, in the beginning? So that is correct. Okay. And then, so where do I find this information? I'll tell you in a minute. Mod is the other one, MOD. Modulus. This means the remainder obtained after dividing this number with this number has to be in that order. It's 12. So we got both the 492 converted back to hours and minutes, right? That's how you would do it. Any questions on that? Okay, I'm telling you in advance, so you won't run into this problem. And I'll show you in Python. Things are a little bit different. Okay, where did I find this information? It's again in the VisualLogic manual. Right here, uses that. Forward, 24 pages. It's so slow. But you'll find both of those commands. Okay, we are coming to that. This table is the important one. See, this backslash is integer division, gives an example, and mod is the other one that I use. Okay? So you have to read this carefully if you get stuck or even before that. Because nobody knows these two symbols are used for that purpose in the beginning. Okay. And in Python, there's an interactive mode where you can actually print anything you like. You don't even have to say print. You can just say 492 / is the integer division. Okay, 60. So that gives you 8, right? And 492% gives the remainder. So please make a note of it. And where do you find this? On python.org. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not documented well in one place, but it jumps around a little bit. There are plenty of tutorials and examples. I think our textbook has this. All of this. Oh, I forgot to mention the debug option, which I can demonstrate by using the same program I had here. SW1. Okay. So debug simply means going step by step. So if we start the debugger, you can see the source code, which line it's executing, etc. I've forgotten some of the details. Let's see if we can use it. It's not being very valid. You can always put more print statements anywhere you like in the program. That's the easiest way of doing it. Other options are memory targets, labels. Again, I've forgotten some of the details because I haven't used the debugger for a long time. If I don't get the answer to this in 1 minute, don't worry about it, and I'll try and look it up later. I don't know where I call it, but under run there may be a to go step by step. Basically what the debugger does is run this program line by line and tell you in this window which line it's at. So you can see the variables in that line. Okay. So it helps for complicated programs. For simple ones, you don't need it. Okay, let me stop here for today, and if you want to try some of these things out, especially handout 1, ask me questions about it, etc. You can do that. Or you can do the first homework assignment, first part of the homework assignment, whatever. On Thursday, I'll try and receive a little bit of this information, show you how to handle the program.